Welcome to the Colts Squad Show. I'm your host, Derek Schultz, and I'm thinking that's not the last trip the Colts are taking to California this season.
And I'm Zach Hicks. And what more do you have to see, NFL media? Do they have to beat another good team now, or is this good enough for you guys?
I'm Alan Pinkett, former Oiler. Are the Colts for real, or was this a one-off?
Colts Nation, rise up. It's the Colts Squad. Everything Indianapolis Colts every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Circle City, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to squad up. The Colts Squad Show starts now.
Following yet another big Colts W, welcome to the Colts Squad Show here on the Locked On Colts Network. Today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I'm Derek Schultz. I've been a sports talker in Indianapolis for many years. I'm joined by Notre Dame legend and former NFL running back Alan Pinkett, and you everydayers know Zach Hicks. Jake Arthur is going to be here as well, the dynamic duo from Locked On Colts, as we're recapping yet another Colts victory. It's crazy to think, guys, we've done 7 of these recap shows. 6 of them have been victory recap shows as the Colts are 6-1 following today's 38-24 win over the Chargers. That, look, I know people have some PTSD from the Colts. It was never really in doubt, despite some defensive struggles late. Offense keeps on cooking. That's what we're talking about today to lead off. Defensive concerns, yes, there were some of those. Chargers still ended up with 450 yards, and I understand the game circumstances dictated them throwing the ball a lot. We'll play studs and duds as we always do with every game recap show, and we'll also talk about some of the things. We're nearing the halfway point of the season here. Some of the awards that may be on the line for the Colts, or at least some individual accolades that I'm going to argue, and I think we're all going to argue very strongly for several members of the Colts, not only Colts players-wise, but coaching-wise, who could be in the running for, given this tremendous start and the fact that this is the league's most prolific offense right now. But, Zach, I mean, let's start there. First 3 drives of the game, first real road test since the Rams game, right? And really only the second one this year because Nashville doesn't even really count, sorry, to the Titans. But the Colts have dominated them there for years. And first 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. It's a 23-3 lead at halftime. You didn't feel like the Chargers were even remotely getting in their way. I mean, I'm watching this and thinking to myself, man, we could talk about whether this is the best team in the NFL. This is the best offense in the NFL right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think for sure. There's just no way to really contain this offense. And, we keep hearing people say, oh, they have to do it against this defense, I mean, they've proven it time and time again. Even their worst showing was against the Rams a few weeks ago, and they were inches away from a 34-point game on the road against the Rams, who were killing them in the trenches all game long. So, this Colts offense has just been a juggernaut all year long, and they continued it with this showing against the Chargers. I mean, it was an absolute beatdown for the Colts offense versus the Chargers defense just from the second this game started. The Colts were able to get everything they needed, and this was without Josh Downs, who is one of the most important pieces in this offense. Josh Downs is their third down weapon, their guy who moves the chains for them, their guy that isolates them against slot corners and linebackers. He makes everything easier on offense, and they didn't have that, and they just supplemented it with more Tyler Warren, more Alec Pierce, more Michael Pittman Jr. Oh yeah, and then Jonathan Taylor just continued doing what he was doing as well. So this Colts offense is just a machine at this point. And I think the most sustainable aspect of it, again, is like, it's not like some of the other great offenses we've seen where it's like, we're just relying on this quarterback doing like superhuman things every 5 seconds. Like this quarterback, like what Justin Herbert was doing today. Like there were some easy throws, but a lot of these throws down the field were into tight windows, just him getting out of multiple pressures and sacks and throwing the ball into windows. That's him having to be superhuman all day to keep up with the Colts offense. Daniel Jones doesn't have to be that for the Colts to put up nearly 40 points on a Sunday. He can just play well in the offense, look at his first read, get it out to the guy that's open, be a distributor. And then when there is like the 3, 4, 5 plays that he has to make, he makes those plays in impressive fashion. So yeah, this Colts offense is just on another level right now. They are fantastic. And again, last year, the Colts had 0 multiple score wins all year long. This year, they have 4 out of 7 games they've won by more than 1 score. So, wow. I mean, they are just rolling right now. And sure, Derek, like we can argue like best team in the NFL, but best offense in the NFL, again, I don't know what more you have to see from this Colts offense to make that proclamation.
Well, I'll tell you that the area I live in, this is the first time, I guess, that I haven't had to go to Buffalo Wild Wings to see the Colts. That the area I'm in, which mainly supports the Chicago Bears, decided to finally put the Colts on in the afternoon hour. Usually I'll get Cowboys, Panthers, or Green Bay, Atlanta, or some off-the-wall game like that. But I think the Colts are starting to make people take notice. And, as a player, being in an offense that's used to scoring, I mean, that is a mindset. If you have a good offense, the weather doesn't matter, the stadium doesn't matter, the crowd doesn't matter. Once you are clicking on all cylinders, you can go in and run that offense anywhere you go. And I think that the familiarity of being there one time before helped quite a bit, so you're not looking around the stadium and in awe of the architecture or paying attention to the fans. They made this a business trip and they handled their business. And I think they made a statement by 5 possessions in the first half, scored on 4 of them. And the most impressive drive was probably the one where they went and kicked the field goal, because they had less than 2 minutes, and some of the commentators were complaining about, they should go down and score a touchdown. They didn't need to score a touchdown, but they were able to accomplish what they put in place, which was, let's go down, get ourselves in position to kick a field goal, get points out of the deal. Yeah, and that's what happened. And really, the game was, for all intents and purposes, over then. In the second half, I've been in those games where it's like, clock, please run. Please hurry up and run. How do we have this much time left on the clock? But the Colts handled their business, and I think that the country is, if they haven't taken notice by now, then the Colts have everybody's attention.
Jake, I didn't know if you wanted to chime in on the offensive performance as well. We were talking about just another week, and it's almost like you don't even bat your eyelashes anymore at 38 points. It's come to be expected that this team is going to score 30 points every single week, and hell, they almost did it in the first half alone.
No, I mean, it's crazy that this offense is completely carrying the team, because, I mean, look at the second half kind of collapse of the defense. If that offense wasn't as effective as it was, it could have been a totally different turnaround there. But just incredibly, I think they're honestly surprising themselves a little bit. Because obviously with the end of the first half, they wanted to just get the field goal, get points on the board so as to not let the Chargers get the ball back, and then score 2 consecutive times. Totally changed the narrative of the game. But, they got a couple big plays on that drive. Again, I think they kind of surprised themselves, because if they would have known it would have been that productive, they may have gone for a touchdown without letting that much time go. But now this is incredible. Just I don't know what the weak spot on the offense is. I mean, you look at Jonathan Taylor, unbelievable. You look at the passing game, and this was all without Josh Downs, mind you. They completely spread the ball around. I mean, they got contributions from pretty much everywhere. Pittman, Pierce, Warren, like everybody was joining in on the party. I thought the run blocking was pretty good, other than when the Chargers, sold out to stop Jonathan. Obviously, they got some pass rush. They had some success there. The Chargers did, but overall, no. This offense is just unbelievable. And again, 7 games. That's enough. That's a half a season essentially. Like that's a good enough sample size to know this team is legit. This offense is good. They have a good offensive line, an elite run game. They have a quarterback playing at an incredibly high level, finding the layups. And for those of us watching the CBS broadcast, I think JJ Watt did a really good job of breaking down how they're so successful with Jones. Like, it's not always gaudy stuff, but Jones just picking the simple stuff, just the little dump offs and all that, getting 5-6 yards on first down and keeping yourself ahead of the sticks and not allowing yourself to be set up for 3rd and 8 and all that stuff. That, like, the boring stuff is so important and it winds up just getting you where you need to go, just like a couple plays later. Because, I mean, 3rd and 1 with a little dump off to Tyler Warren or just a little off tackle run to Jonathan Taylor, a lot more manageable than trying to figure something out with 3rd and 8 and risk penalties and all that kind of stuff. But this offense, I mean, they face some good defenses. I mean, this Chargers one isn't necessarily the greatest defense, but they've got some players there. They got Khalil Mack back. They have Derwin James out there. So I was just overall incredibly impressed.
I don't know why it became so scientific to just hit the guy that's open. I mean, that's what Daniel Jones is doing. They spread everybody out enough to he doesn't have to go downfield all the time, but I think they have the correct mix of dinking and dunking. And then when you think you're going to creep up, he goes over the top. They have just the right amount of mix of long passes and short passes, but I think the difference is the guys that are catching the ball are making something happen after they catch the ball, and it's a great example of how yaks help you out, yards after catch or yards after contact. They're succeeding at both, and I thought there might be a little drop off with no Ashton Doolin and no Josh Downs. Josh Downs to me really is the key to this offense running. But I did notice Daniel Jones look for JT a few times just to dump it off, just so he could complete the pass and get positive yards. But, you know, the latest saying is staying ahead of the sticks. And that's the one thing that they're doing. And they're making it look easy because they're so efficient.
Yeah. And again, there are just a couple of plays a game where you're asking Daniel Jones to make these not these superhuman type plays, but these couple plays where he has to bail out the offense because look, your process is not going to be perfect every single time you're out there. There are going to be some moments where you have to hit a deep shot to Alec Pierce on 3rd and 10 plus, right? Like that's something that you typically are not asking Daniel Jones to do. But when he's been asked to do that this year, he has performed. And that was my biggest question about him coming into the year was like, can he be that kind of guy for the offense where when things are not going well, when there's a sack, when there's a penalty, can he bail them out? And we saw multiple times today, like it doesn't even have to be the huge throw to Alec Pierce that turned it into, that was like a 40-yard gain up the left sideline on 3rd and long, right? It can also be the drop snap on that 3rd down on the second drive. Drops a snap on 3rd and 5, picks it up, makes a guy miss in the backfield, falls forward to get to the 4th and 1. Colts are able to convert on that 4th and 1 and keep the ball moving forward. So, you know, this offense is just so well structured from the offensive line to Tyler Warren being the missing piece, Jonathan Taylor being the best running back in football. But Daniel Jones, he's not only been a high floor quarterback, but whenever the Colts ask him to do a little bit more, he's performed. So, like, I don't know if Daniel Jones has been, like, perfect or anything this year. Like, that might be too far because no one's perfect in the NFL. But he's done so many things at such a high level that, again, when we talk in the final segment, like, why is this guy not getting MVP conversation at least? Like, look, I'm not saying he's the MVP of the league right now, but what's your argument against him? They keep just dropping almost 40 points on everybody. Like, how many more of these games do we need to see from the Colts and all of them to get their proper credit? I mean, I know I wasn't that nervous coming into this game because I figured the Colts could put up points, but even then I was still surprised at how easy it was for them. But that's just becoming like a normal thing each and every week.
Yeah, find me another quarterback in the league that is leading the number one offense historically in the last 5, 7, 10 years that wasn't in the MVP conversation, right? Generally speaking, the quarterback of the best offense in the league is in the MVP conversation. But you're right, Zach. I mean, another play that I'll point out, 3rd and 10, he throws to, I think it was Abdullah. It was a 7-8 yard gain. And then they were able to go for it on 4th down. And you don't, afterwards, you don't think about those plays and you don't even really think about them in the moment. But it's just like the little stuff like that, yeah, of course, the 50-yard yellow ball to Pierce is awesome, right? That's going to make the highlight reels. But like you said, dropping the snap and turning something out of nothing there to allow them to kind of continue the drive. I mean, he's just doing it all. You know, I won't say that he's perfect either, but he has so wildly outperformed even the craziest optimistic expectations this season through what we've seen through the first 7 games so far. So that offense keeps on cooking, but there were defensive concerns. It was another week where the offense greatly outpaced the D. We'll get into those defensive issues and why some changes may be necessary when the Colts Squad show returns next. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com, rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and boom, you're in the game. PrizePicks is quick and easy. You can make your lineup in under a minute, and it gives you another reason to watch games outside of just the Colts. Even sports outside of just the NFL. There's a special max discount promotion live on the board right now for the Warriors against the Lakers on October 21st. Steph Curry is discounted to only needing more than a half point to win. Mix and match players from football, basketball, and baseball to build your dream lineup today. Download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And we're back on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Thanks so much for being here after the Colts knock off the Bolts 38-24. And, you know, I'm kind of one of those OGs when it comes to watching the Colts, not to make Zach or Jake or anybody else sound young. Or Alan, you're probably laughing when I call myself an OG, right? But the Colts and Chargers, it has not been a pretty history this century. So I am not taking any win over the Chargers feels good to me. You know, I'm still old enough to remember the Darren Sproles game and the Mike Seyfried game. I think that was actually the same game. And then you had Billy freaking Volek as Jake pulled out a couple of days ago, I should say, on the Colts Squad Show. Yeah. So it was nice to see the Colts on the opposite end of really what was a one-sided game. But the reason that it maybe wasn't as one-sided as it should have been was because of some of the defensive struggles there in the second half. The Chargers started the second half touchdown to somewhat make the game at least a little bit moderately interesting. I think, you know, Alan, you said this to start the show, and actually as we were talking off the air, and I think your point is well taken. You know, the Chargers outgained the Colts. Sometimes the stats don't tell the story. You know, obviously that doesn't tell the story, total yards. But Zach, the pass rush and the inconsistencies there, and this was a makeshift / bad. I mean, even when they're healthy, this is a bad offensive line for the Chargers. And the Colts probably didn't make as much hay as they should have.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts edge room is certainly an issue, and it's something that needs to be addressed here fairly soon. If the Colts have like deep playoff run aspirations this year, like you're just not going to win. You're not going to win in the playoffs with this type of edge room right now. You just need a lot more out there off the edge. But you know, when it comes to the rest of this defense, again, like this Chargers offense is beat up too, but the Colts are down to their 9th and 10th corners on the outside. Kenny Moore was definitely hobbled out there. You could see him. He was not at his full self out there. And the linebacker next to Zaire Franklin has just been a rotating mess all year long. It's going to have some stability now with Jermaine Pratt in there, but it's going to take some time to really build up that chemistry and stuff like that. So I think really right now for this trying period of the year for the Colts defense, again, with so many moving parts, with issues they still need to iron out, with a lot of things that just need to get better, I think the key for me on every single Sunday for them is creating the splash plays and getting the ball back for the offense. Because when you have this good of an offense, the key is just getting that ball back to them as much as possible. Look, if the other team scores touchdowns on you, just don't make it compile like it did early in that second half. I thought they really buckled down on that fourth quarter drive. The fourth quarter drive was like everything you're looking for from a defense in that situation, make them eat 8 minutes off the clock, have them go 4 and out at the end of it, or go 4 downs on the end of it, and get off the field. That was perfect. So yeah, I don't think the defense was as atrocious as like, they gave up 400 plus yards to Justin Herbert. It's like, yeah, Herbert was down by 20 for most of the game. And a big part of that was because the Colts defense got them in that situation in the first half with those 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions were massive, and that's what made this game such a rout early, which the Colts were able just to kind of hold on in the second half. So yes, there are some things to clean up. There are things that need to be better. But I thought what we saw from the entirety of the first half and then that whole fourth quarter was really just that third quarter that was a train wreck for the Colts defense there, where again, if they're going to score points on you when you have that big of a lead, make them have to work for it. Make it have to be 15 to 20 play drives, not these, 6 play drive right out of the half was pretty brutal. Like that just can't happen. But overall, I don't think it was, some like, oh my gosh, this Colts defense is the worst defense ever. Again, a big part of the reason why the Colts were able to get 38 on the board was because they got those turnovers early from the defense when it mattered. Grover Stewart, I thought, had a really good game. I thought the interior defensive line was really good for the Colts all day long. So, yeah, it could be better, but I'm not going to, they allowed 24 points on the road and had 2 interceptions, gave the ball back to the offense a couple times. Like, look, with this offense, that's good enough for me. I will certainly take that for sure from this defense.
It was pretty touch and go there. And I don't know what to like. The only solution to me is really to address this with outside resources, because to Zach's credit, when you're passing and you're completely one-dimensional and you're passing it constantly, those stats are going to bolster up quite a bit. But at the same time, the Chargers for a very extended stretch were getting whatever they really needed to, and they were spreading it around. Oronde Gadsden the second, really nice rookie, but had just a crazy amount of yards, like 160 whatever. Keenan Allen had a big amount of yards. Ladd McConkey came up as well. So it's not like the strategy where you're like, if Gadsden kills us, we're fine as long as we control Allen and McConkey, because that kind of wasn't necessarily the case. This pass rush is so baffling to me because they generate a lot of pressure. In a lot of these games, they do generate a lot of pressure. They just don't always get home. And I mean, DeForest Buckner kind of saved them at the end. And 21 play drive, which I just can't remember seeing a drive that long. Buckner comes up huge with 2 sacks on that 21 play drive. So outside of him, Latu did finally get home for another sack. He was getting pressures. I think he hit the quarterback a couple times, but it's just not quite good enough. And then in the secondary, I just don't know how much you can do about that again, because what are you expecting from Jonathan Edwards and Mekhi Blackman and these like
Cameron Mitchell was out there for most of the game.
Mitchell, yeah, you're maxing out your resources. Your 93rd linebacker next to Zaire Franklin, like Zach mentioned, like you're running with Austin Ajake as your passing down linebacker, and then Jermaine Pratt on early downs and stuff. It's like they're hanging on for dear life. They're maxing out their resources, but they need more resources is the thing. So this is where Chris Ballard has got to recognize, like, this is not hyperbole. I think this is now a team that is going to compete to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think that's insane to say at this point, but you have got to recognize the issues and address them now before you get too far down the road.
Yeah. Well, sorry, real quick, Alan. I think the big issue with the Colts defense right now is they get pressure, but they don't get quick pressure, right? And it's because their edge room just doesn't win quick. Yeah. And so one way that you can make the quarterbacks hold the ball a little bit longer is play more press man and play more physical coverage on the outside. But when you play press man coverage with 10th string corners, you are susceptible to huge plays down the field because these guys are just not, Charvarius Ward. They're not your top guy, Justin Watley even. So these DBs, like if you either want to play them in off zone to protect them, but then the ball's out quick and your guys are not getting pressure, or you want to be in press man and these guys are not getting in pressure quick enough to help those guys cover. So it feels like they just need to fix one of these issues. Like you can have a deficiency on defense. It can be your 20th string corners, whatever it is. It can be your edge rushers not getting quick pressure, but you can't have both of those issues. And that's where teams are going to eat you up a little bit in the pass department. So I do think they need to get a little bit more help in here. And that's where the trade deadline really comes into big play this next week or two.
Well, it's right to be concerned, but I would love to add a little perspective. We are concerned because the offense is so damn good.
Right.
The offense is a machine, and they are just, slicing and dicing all these defenses that they face. And let's not forget that this is Lou Anarumo's first year as a defensive coordinator. There's a lot of new faces on defense, and there have been a number of injuries. And when you look at the stats and you see Justin Herbert throwing for 455 yards, threw the ball 55 times, you would think that the 38 number would be for the Chargers and not the Colts. So I think that for all our concern about the defense, which is it's right to have that concern, because as we get deeper into the season, teams are going to be getting better. Teams are going to gel. But I think this defense is going to gel. And as long as the offense can stay healthy, and I say stay healthy, even though they were down 2 receivers today, if they can stay consistent and efficient as they are, then the defense, whatever deficiencies they have, will be okay as long as they keep people out of the end zone, or like they were doing earlier in the game, let them kick the field goal. Shoot, Let Herbert throw for 1,000 damn yards. We don't care. If you don't get in the end zone, doesn't matter, because we got an offense that's going to go ahead and take it down and put 7 on your ass.
Yeah, no, I think the first half was everything that you want from a struggling defense paired with a great offense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how many yards the other team gets against the Colts. Keep them out of the end zone. I don't care if it's turnovers, if it's just third down stops to force long field goals, or just even field goals in general. As long as they can keep opponents out of the end zone, these teams can't score with the Colts, because the Colts are going to put up 30-plus points, and you're not going to get there with field goals. So I don't really care much about the yards. I care about the splash plays and the productive plays. So really, for me, the biggest aspect of this Colts defense that needs to get better is 3rd and 4th down defense. I believe the Chargers were 11 of 20 today on 3rd and 4th downs combined. That's the issue, because they did force a lot of 3rd and 4th and longs, or at least, not manageable, like the 7 or 8 plus, and they gave up these scores and conversions. So I think they are taking the ball away at a high level. They're doing that. They're forcing field goals at times when the Colts offense is not settling for field goals. The next step is just getting off the field on 3rd down a little bit more, and I think this defense will be perfectly fine.
And let's remember who the Chargers are now. Remember the first game, their first game of the season, they beat up the Chiefs, and so they became a darling of the national media. Everybody is thinking Harbaugh at coach. All he does is coach winners. And now he's got the Chargers, and the Chargers beat, the defending AFC champs. The Chargers are going to be the next greatest thing. And the Colts just went out there and smacked them around like they were their little brother.
I do think the optics defensively were just also a little shocking, because it really was a tale of 2 halves. 3 points by the Chargers going into halftime. And then all of a sudden it's just an explosion. Boom, 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 touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And 24 points on its head isn't that big a deal. I just think that it's the fact that they scored the entire 3rd quarter, and then going into the 4th quarter, if you spread those 24 points across the whole game rather than just that small concentration, I think it's a lot easier pill to swallow. I think it was just jarring to see all of it happen in such a short span.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, though, with this Colts offense, if you're holding an opponent to under 25, under 30 even, I'm calling it a win. Cameron Mitchell is elevated off the practice squad the last 2 weeks, and he's playing pretty much the entirety of the defensive snaps in this game.
And I will say this, it's hard to keep your foot on the gas pedal, for more than a half. And when you do get a lead, you do naturally sort of relax just a little bit. And I think the Colts in general just relaxed. Now, this Charger team was never, ever going to quit, but Yeah, I think there was a little bit of relaxation there because the lead was so comfortable. It was going to be damn near impossible for him to come back all the way. So you chill a little bit. And next thing you know, you got a football game, because all you want to do when you're trailing by a bunch is get to a deficit of 14 by the time the fourth quarter starts. That way, anything can happen, and you can end up winning that game.
Yeah, and I think they were gassed too, down Lewis and Ebicam, and I think you could tell that was kind of part of it too. They were eating a lot of clock, but they were out there for a long time, especially in the fourth quarter. But Zach, quickly defensively, if there is going to be a change, whether that be a signing or a trade, what would you suggest that being? What would you have in mind for that? I know you can't just conjure up a trade out of a vacuum, right? You need somebody else to participate in that, but what should the Colts have their eye on when it comes to that area?
Yeah, I just think edge rusher is just more important. I think one, there's just more out there available. Likely again, it takes two to tango when it comes to trades, and it's hard to trade in the NFL compared to any other major sport. But I think an edge rusher just makes more sense. If you can really get this defensive line clicking and you can free up DeForest Buckner for more one-on-ones so he can look the way he did today, then I think that it makes the cornerback room a lot better. And we got to keep in mind, Charvarius Ward, even though he's on IR now and he'll be out until the bye week, if you get him back for that final 7 games, it drastically changes everything about your secondary. Like one player has such an impact on this defense when he is back. So if Charvarius Ward can be back after that bye week, you can live with Mekhi Blackmon being your weak point of your secondary. Whereas up front, I don't know what the answer is to the edge rush room. I think edge is where they really got to go.
And we'll see. It'll be an interesting week ahead. There's no doubt about that. As we look forward on the Colts Squad Show, we're going to talk studs and duds. There were some obvious studs and duds, but we're actually going to dig a little bit deeper on some standout performers that deserve their flowers, I should say. We're talking about it next. This portion of the Locked On Colts Squad Show brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August of 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And we're back on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Indy victorious in LA over the Chargers, 38-24. And as we always do in the third segment of our Locked On Colts Squad Show game recaps, we talk studs and duds. Thankfully, there were a lot more studs than duds. Look, we could just permanently just encase Jonathan Taylor in the studs category. We can build a stud statue of number 28 and bronze it at this point. He's unbelievable every week. He looks like he gets shot out of a cannon when the Colts get close to the end zone like that. So, of course, he was great. Daniel Jones had a great game too. But really, Jake, two guys that I wanted to highlight that, like one of them caught a touchdown and one of them had a long pass completion that we talked about earlier today. With Josh Downs out and Ashton Dulin out, and obviously A.D. Mitchell a little bit in the doghouse right now, I thought Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. were terrific today. They combined for 12 catches, 156 yards. It felt like there were a lot of big catches that were in there, notably the 3rd and 17 to Pierce. I mean, that one's going to stand out. But how about Pittman finding the end zone? I mean, this is not a guy during his Colts career that has caught a ton of touchdowns, and I think he's one away from his career high already, and we're not even halfway through the year.
Yep, he's got 5. His career high was 2021 or 6 in 2021 when he was with Carson Wentz, and he was like the only guy that Carson would throw to. So he's already really productive this year. Both those guys coming up with incredible catches. I'm very happy for Pittman now that he's finally in the right situation to where he can be used as a complete receiver. I feel like most seasons of his career, he's almost had to lean into a niche based on whatever the quarterback was. And they've hardly ever had a consistent quarterback, or at least a well-rounded one. But his tenacity is something that really sticks out to me. Several plays where I saw him like in the trenches, shoving defenders back and helping in the run game. Like not even just on the boundary. Like dude was like basically got himself on the line by the end of the play. So he's incredibly invaluable. And then Pierce has evolved as well. Again, part of this could be the quarterback situation. But I know when he was coming into like OTAs, I think it was, and we spoke to him all the way back then, he said something he really wanted to add to his game was like catching on the run and catching balls over the middle and doing this and that, like rather than only leaning on the deep stuff. And we saw all of it today. He had the 40, 50-yard catch, whatever it was. But even last week, this week, the guy keeps making tough catches on the sidelines, over the middle, in traffic. Like, he's got incredibly strong hands, great concentration, and they're just totally invaluable. And to lose a guy like Josh Downs, that sucks. Like, you're losing a third, fourth down converter, a guy who creates his own yards, but it almost doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but the Colts can afford to miss a guy like Josh Downs because of what guys like Pittman and Pierce offer. Obviously, Tyler Warren had a pair of really nice catches and runs down the right sideline today, proving his worth each and every week. Just incredible stuff from there, leading the NFL in receiving yards among tight ends. So yeah, it's just been a total team effort. No one person is dominating the ball, but I feel like everyone is just killing it at whatever their role is. Like, there's no one who you see them and you're like, they really shouldn't be seeing the field very much. Even A.D. Mitchell got out there for another catch, a really tough one at that. But yeah, big contributions. Anthony Gould getting a catch, clamping it at the field for the 6-yard conversion. So yeah, everyone's clicking on all cylinders. I mean, it starts with the quarterback, but yeah, it's just incredibly impressive to see.
Yeah, each week we get closer and closer to that tough conversation of like, we can't let Alec Pierce leave in the offseason. And I just don't know where they're going to find the money for it.
Is tough.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to, but like, I mean, the way he's played this year, he's looked like a number one wide receiver in a lot of these games with how he's winning more than being a deep ball guy, like you said there, Jake. So yeah, he's been great. I think the Colts offensive line is always going to be in the stud category as well. Had a couple of shaky pass blocking moments there early in the second quarter, late first quarter as well. But outside of that, like the run blocking was on a really high level all game long. The 2 Jonathan Taylor touchdowns of 10 plus yards were just walk-in touchdowns. Again, like one was like a 17-yard run. The other was like a 15-yard run. And these were walk-in touchdowns for a running back. The young guys on the offensive line are playing out of their mind. They've been studs all season long. But to go to defense real quick, I thought the Colts interior defensive line were kind of studs in this game. I mean, the Chargers were averaging 1 yard a carry, 1.9 yards per carry in this game. Like their leading rusher was Justin Herbert with 9 carries for 31 yards in this one. And I think the defensive tackles were just playing some outstanding football. DeForest Buckner just called a game at the end of that there. Adetomiwa Adebawore is building on a really strong season, had a couple really quick pressures. Neville Gallimore has been awesome today today and all year long as well. And then Grover Stewart, the interception. We can't go a whole episode without talking. To knock it up in the He's caused multiple turnovers this year from knocking the ball up, getting his hands up at the line of scrimmage. And I mean, one of Leatu Latu's interceptions was Grover knocking the ball out of the air. And for him to knock it up, look around and have it fall right into his hands, it was perfect. He also had a sack today, or a half sack that he split with Leatu Latu. So the interior defensive line, I think, is in a great place for the Colts. They have 4 guys there who I think are impact players. They just need the edge rush room to really help them out. But I think that interior defensive line has been studs for most of the year, but especially today.
My stud for this game was Amir Abdullah.
Ooh, yeah, it's good call. Good call. Yeah.
Because he only carried the ball twice, but he averaged 9.5 per carry, caught 1 pass for 8 yards. But you see, a lot of times a defense, will get used to the speed of how the running back comes through a hole. So their chase pattern to the hole is based on that speed. Now in comes Amir Abdullah, who is, to me, a little more explosive, has more quicks. And now those linebackers that used to have a pursuit angle of 45 degrees, they got to tighten that angle up a little bit more because Amir Abdullah will just run by them. Also, I always look for reasons to keep defensive coordinators guessing, to put them in that room and have to look at more film and come up with more ways to try and stop a defense. You think you're just giving, Jonathan Taylor a break, but you're not giving the defense a break, because this dude showed he'll blast it up the middle on you. And now you can't relax as a defense because there is a reliable option. You're not just giving Jonathan Taylor a break. You're bringing in another weapon, and this weapon can do damage too. So he just is added to the amount of damage that Colts offense can do to another defense.
Yeah, and the big kick return as well, right?
Yep.
The kick return was massive. The Chargers came
Oh,
out
yeah.
of half and went 74 yards in 6 plays and scored a touchdown. Like, just like that. It was walking up and down the field, easy touchdown for the Chargers, thinking that, the momentum might be going back to the Chargers. And then Abdullah gets that 80-something yard return, averaged, almost 60 yards per return on the day in general for him. And the Colts are able to score 2 plays later. So it makes all that work the Chargers just did for naught, just absolutely out the window. So Amir Abdullah changed the game in multiple ways in this one. And I'm with you, Alan. I think he's been a great addition, a very underrated addition to this Colts team where, look, DJ Giddens was not deserving his reps at running back with how he was performing as a pass blocker and as a receiver. And the Colts needed to go more veteran route. And their typical guy, Tyler Goodson, has been banged up all year with multiple injuries. So it ended up being a guy off the street, Amir Abdullah, a career special teamer for most part. And he's come in and played some really good football for the Colts. So just another case of the Colts holding guys accountable and finding other options when the in-house options haven't worked. And Amir Abdullah has certainly worked for them the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Jadarian Price vibes. Really,
There you go.
with what he did. I know he didn't get in the end zone like Jadarian did last night, but still the same. When your number's called, you got to be ready, and he's been ready. Studs-wise, or Duds-wise, I don't really think that there was – we already talked about the pass rush. Like, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't good enough on the edge, that is. Obviously, DeForest Buckner had a monster game. But, I guess we have to point out, Badgley misses the extra point. And then there's that weird situation where the Colts have a 4th and 4, and it almost looks like they were ready to go for it. That would have been like a 39-yard field goal, and they're up, and it's the first quarter. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm a pretty aggressive guy, but I hope they weren't feeling like they were forced into having to go for that because they didn't want to trot Badgley out there. I don't know what you thought about that situation, Zach.
Look, it's Shane Steichen. Anything under 4th and 5.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I'm of that opinion this year, even when you had Matt Gay out there, or not Matt Gay, Spencer Schrader out there. Gosh, not Matt Gay. Spencer Schrader out there earlier in the year. I mean, look, the way this offense is performing, you never want to take them off the field. I think part of actually what they were doing there, and I think it was actually a good call by the upstairs there, was the Colts were probably going to challenge regardless because they thought that so they were like, we're going to trot our offense out there, do some hard counts in case we can get them off sides to get the first down. And then instead of calling our timeout will be the challenge flag going out there for the Anthony Gould catch. So smart. It was actually a pretty good smart call there. And honestly, if you want to go more stud, just the coaching again in general. Shane Steichen was dog walking Jim Harbaugh's team all game long, especially that defense. Jesse Minter, they've struggled a lot recently, but still, it's a competitive defense with Khalil Mack out there, Derwin James, some decent players. They were really, really pounding them all game long. And then to steal a Chargers timeout with that punt switcheroo thing. I know that's something the Colts have had in their back pocket for the last couple of years under Shane Steichen, but to do that in that situation, again, just to steal a timeout that way, because they were so scared of your offense, they were like, well, we can't just give them, if the offense really is coming out here, we can't be discombobulated against them because they're going to convert and keep going. They were able to steal that timeout, and it didn't really matter by the end. But again, just good coaching, good game management. I think they're doing so many things very, very well right now.
We've talked about excellence, exhaustion a couple times on this show, and I think one guy that kind of gets that is DeForest Buckner. Yeah, because he always makes a couple big plays a game, and it's almost always a footnote because we expect it. But I feel like he completely took over on that drive. No, his whole body of work in the game was awesome. 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a couple sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. So he was a terror all game long. Zach and I actually pointed that out as this was likely to be a good DeForest Buckner game, like most of them are. But just, again, on that incredibly long drive at the end where a 21-play drive is usually going to end up in some sort of points, the Colts shut the door. It looked like Buckner said, enough of this BS. We cannot, the leak has got to stop. Broke through on one of them. He broke through a double team for one of the tackles for loss, I think. And he just completely shut the door on them. So a guy like that, we're used to it, but we gotta make sure we acknowledge him when that happens. But a dud, Zach, I was going to see if you picked up on this, and it's kind of been something throughout his career. Did you notice, did Nick Cross maybe misidentify a couple things in coverage on a couple of those bigger plays along the boundary?
It's tough without the all 22. It's tough for me to really fully tell.
It looked like he was late on a couple of chunk pass plays that looked like it probably was supposed to be passed off to him at that point. And again, I think it's only because of his past that I assumed that, but
yeah, I'll have to see on the all 22. The only thing I can really confirm about Nick Cross's game is he made a lot of tackles in open field, and then he had the interception of the year as well with that ball to himself. So on regular film it looked fine, but again, safety play is so dependent on what you see on all 22 because you just can't see them on the film until you get the all 22. So we'll have to see on the all 22 what was really going on with some of those big plays.
The only thing I want to add is, as a coach, when you signal to your team that you want to go for it on fourth down, what you're saying is, look, I trust you guys to carry my game plan. And, when you can get that type of synergy between coaches and players where y'all can be on the same page, it's like, okay, you trust us, we're going to go make it happen. That's when you start to get a lot of success, because the offense doesn't want to come off the field. They want to keep pounding that thing until they get into the end zone. So, going for it on fourth down, there are some psychological things going on with the team that the coach is saying, look, I've got confidence in you to make this. Don't just go and punt it. And I don't care what yard line we're on. Give us a chance to, demolish this team. So there's a nice little, I think, like I said, synergy going on between coaches knowing when to go for it on fourth down and players always wanting to go for it on fourth down.
Yeah, when you get 3 on the same drive and the last one results in a touchdown, I mean, that touchdown felt like it was worth 14 instead of 7, just because of how deflating that must have been for the Chargers to have to go through that. We come back here on the Colts Squad Show. Do the Colts have the offensive player and the rookie of the year? Do they have the coach of the year? How about the MVP? We're going to talk about all of it when we return here on the Colts Squad Show. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. If you find a point spread, a player prop, or a parlay you like, all you have to do is open the easy-to-use FanDuel app, place your wager, throw on the game, and enjoy. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today to get started. Back for a final time here on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Indy is 6-1 atop the AFC and has now opened up a 2-game lead in the AFC South as well with the Jaguars. You guys subjected yourself to that mess in London earlier this morning. It was an ugly game, a 35-7 game, 5 touchdowns for Matthew Stafford in that one. I know that it's October. What's today? October 19th. So talking about end of the year awards, what are we doing, right? But just humor me here. I do think that this is interesting with where the Colts sit today, and you look at some of these candidates for individual awards, and in some cases, they're already the Vegas betting favorite. Like I checked one, and this was before the game today. Shane Steichen was the leader in the clubhouse right now for Coach of the Year at plus 260, which isn't the best odds, but still, he was the favorite as far as that was concerned. I think we would all agree here. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is certainly in the MVP race, and he's Offensive Player of the Year right now with, I think, what he's doing. He's been unbelievable. 3 more touchdowns today. I think Daniel Jones, as I know, Jake, you've been banging the table for him. I think maybe he's not the MVP. If you're having a discussion about the MVP, Daniel Jones's name has to be brought up at some point in that discussion. Just with how good this offense has been, you have to give him his flowers when it comes to that. And, Tyler Warren with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Hell, Daniel Jones would be Comeback Player of the Year, Zach, if they didn't change the award, right?
Okay, but here's the thing. Do we think the media even knows they changed the award? I guarantee he's going to get half the votes just because who actually knows if they I didn't know they changed the award. I guarantee the voters aren't going to know.
It has to be injury based now.
Yeah, but I'm sure they don't even know that. They're going to still vote for him. I've seen some crazy votes for Comeback Player of the Year in the past, but yeah, no, I think as of right now, if the voting were done today, I think the two absolute locks would be Shane Steichen for Coach of the Year and Jonathan Taylor for Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's only real competition was Puka Nacua, and he's likely going to be out a couple weeks here, which will hurt his overall numbers.
Yeah.
And if Taylor finishes this year with 2,000 total yards and 20 plus touchdowns, he was a runner-up with worst numbers in 2021. And that's crazy to say, worst numbers in 2021. That was one of the greatest running back seasons I've ever seen that season. But it just speaks to how well he's playing this year as just everything he's doing. But Shane Steichen is Coach of the Year. I think that's almost a lock at this point. I think even if the Colts were to have made the playoffs this year, I think that he probably would have won that award because, honestly, that award basically boils down to which team is better than we expected. And yeah. I think the Colts are the team that's way better than anybody expected. Shane Steichen had the number one odds to be the first head coach fired, according to most betting sites coming into the year. So the Colts being the number one team in the NFL after week 7, I think speaks to the coaching job he's going to do. So I think if we're looking at those awards, I do think MVP, Jonathan Taylor is going to be tough to have in there because it's not a running back award anymore. I'm sorry, Alan. Running backs are not allowed to win that award. I don't even know why they put them on the list anymore. It's only going to be a quarterback. And then for Daniel Jones, it's now just this narrative award where it's which of the best quarterbacks can we give it to? If they didn't give it to Brock Purdy a couple years ago, they're not going to give it to anybody but the top quarterbacks. So Jones would have to do this for 4 straight years before he finally get an MVP vote. But I think Shane Steichen is in a good place with Coach of the Year. Jonathan Taylor looks like the Offensive Player of the Year this year. And then I think Tyler Warren's going to have the best case for Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's just, again, if a quarterback just doesn't suck, they'll probably give it to Jackson Dart just for not being terrible. But, all this to say, the Colts are playing some great football, obviously, if we're even having this conversation after week 7.
Well, it's great to be considered for any of these awards, but you have to understand that to be considered means that you're winning. So the focus is on winning ball games. And when you win ball games, all that attention will come to you. And it is so satisfying as a player sometimes to prove people wrong, for people to have maybe doubted you or thought less, that you start to have some success. So I'm candidate number 1 saying I didn't think Daniel Jones was going to do what he did, but I know that a lot of people doubted him, and he's using that as fuel to go out and get his job done. But he's not doing it so he can win Player of the Year. He's doing it because he believes he's a good daggone player, and he likes to win. All these things come from winning. So if you just associate what you're doing with winning and helping the team win, all that little individual stuff starts to shower upon you.
No, I think Jones, it would be asinine to not have him in the quarterback or in the MVP conversation. Because again, there's a half a season left to go, but he is the quarterback for a team that's got a commanding lead on the conference now, but with a group of guys that's been around. What's the biggest difference between those guys? Some of these guys have been around since 2022 and it was a disaster. The biggest difference is the quarterback.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson didn't look that, the quarterback position was insanely bad for a lot of last year. And you just plug in a quarterback who's playing at an incredibly high level. Well, suddenly you have the number 1 team in the league. So Jones should have MVP votes. I'm not going to say he's going to win it. Jonathan Taylor as well. Incredibly hard for running backs to get it. but he's got like 900 yards of offense and 11 touchdowns now, and we're not even technically to the halfway point. So, I mean, dude's going crazy, and they've got some more marquee matchups coming up in the back half of the schedule as well. You got to imagine the Colts are going to get flexed to primetime a time or two in this back half as well. They're going to have the Germany game. So big moments in situations where there's a spotlight shown on you makes all the difference in the world. So that'll be big. Shane Steichen, obviously that always comes down to a turnaround, the coach of a turnaround team, or if one team just has an absolute stranglehold on the rest of the league. And Shane Steichen has shown that he's been a good coach before, but now he's leading that number one team in the league. And I mean, Warren's going to have kind of a tougher battle. There's more kind of spoons in the pot on that. Emeka Buka is having an unreal year. If Jackson Dart keeps winning with the Giants, I mean, even Cam Scatabo is one of those guys that's going to get, he's a lightning rod for attention. So like he may not be like rookie of the year, but it takes attention away from Warren. You know what I mean? And Warren is just a hard hat, productive guy. Like there's no flash to him whatsoever. He hardly even celebrates. You know what I mean? So other than statistically and coming up in big moments, people nationally, I don't think are going to recognize him as much as they will Jackson Dart, a rookie quarterback for a team that looks way better now than they did before he was in there.
Hold on, Jake. Since we started this show, I don't know how many people realize this. The Broncos won that game 33-32.
That just happened because I just looked.
They scored 33 fourth quarter points and 25 in the final 5 minutes. Thankfully, I grew up a New York Giants fan, and I still have high school friends that text me. And about 10 minutes into the show, I had a high school buddy be like, I can't believe what I just saw. And I'm like, just knowing who he is, it must be Giants related. And I looked it up, 33-32.
Yeah. And look, Tyler Warren would never let that happen. So I think he's got to be the favorite. Like today. It didn't happen today. You know, they didn't blow their lead today. So we're good.
But go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I was just going to say one more award, though, that we haven't talked about. And he's not going to get it because he's a guard. And it's going to be a tackle award. But Quentin Nelson is playing the best football of his career right now, of his Hall of Fame career. I mean, his run blocking every single week is getting better and better. And I don't even know how that's possible because to start the year, it was at this insanely high level. But now we're seeing entire plays just being like, just run behind Quentin Nelson. Pull him out in front, run behind Quentin Nelson. Have Quentin Nelson turn the one tech with ease and just guide him out of the play for Taylor to walk in for a touchdown. Like, Quentin Nelson has been the best offensive lineman in football this year. He has been insanely, like, we are watching greatness every single Sunday. And it's hard because it's a guard. It's hard to like really properly get excited about this for most people. But the way he is playing right now is at an unreal level. So maybe he's not going to get protector of the year because, again, it's going to go to a tackle. But he's going to be first team All-Pro this season as long as he stays healthy. He first team All-Pro lock. He is playing that well.
Well, I just wanted to add in there that Tyler Warren is a legitimate candidate for Rookie of the Year. And whether he gets it or not, he probably won't because it's not the position that usually gets the award. But what baffles me the most is the fact that he was the second tight end taken this year. And to me, that's just, dude, don't overthink it. You know, whoever got the first tight end, what the hell were you thinking about? How could you not see that Tyler Warren was not the best tight end coming out of college? You know, he did everything on the field that to let you know that he was going to be a legit pick. But somebody, I don't know, maybe saw another tight end in some shorts, or maybe they bench pressed 225 a couple more times. You know, or maybe they just were more handsome or something like that. But, dude, don't ignore what your eyes tell you a lot of times, you know. And I mean, I like looking at stats, but I rely on what my eyes tell me. And my eyes said, this tight end is something different. And I think the Colts are very, very happy that he fell into their lap.
Well, to be fair,
without him.
Yeah. I was going to say, go ahead, quick, despite the Colts being 6-1, I don't know if they have many All-Pros on this team right now. Like Jonathan Taylor, All-Pro, Quentin Nelson, All-Pro. That might be your only two like locks of it.
Mhm.
Tyler Warren's probably your third best option for All-Pro
I'd say
right now.
so,
Like
yeah.
I think as of right now, he's the first team All-Pro at tight end across the league. He's been the best tight end in football this season. He leads them all in receiving. He's been a fantastic blocker. He's playing fullback more and more. He played 8 snaps of fullback last week. I think he had to have at least had 5 or 6 today as well. So I think he's the first team All-Pro at tight end right now. And that might be your 3 All-Pros for the Colts as of right now. But, I mean, they've been fantastic.
Yeah, Loveland's coming for him. He had a career-high 3 catches today, so Loveland is up to 78 receiving yards on the year. I have a running joke on X Twitter where every time Tyler Warren does everything, I'm like, hey, not bad for the second best tight end in the draft. Because I'm kind of with you, Alan. I mean, if you watched specifically, if you watched any of those Penn State playoff games, you were like, this dude is going to be a problem when he gets to the league.
Real quick correction there. You said second best tight end was Loveland in the draft. Gadsden just had 200 yards today in this past draft as well. So let's not sleep on Arondé Gadsden. That guy looked like a superstar today for the Chargers.
He did make some nice catches. I'll give him his flowers when it comes to that, for sure. Thanks for joining us here on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. We are your place for live game recaps following each and every Colts game this season. We have a Wednesday show too, so please come back middle of the week to join us then at 9 o'clock. We'll be back with you then to recap the injury report and the first practice of the week and get you set for the return game against the Titans. But until then, follow us on socials at Locked On Colts. Obviously, listen to Jake and Zach every single day throughout the week and make them your first listen of the day. And check out our other great content on YouTube and TikTok. And we'll see you next time right here on the Colts Squad Show.